Think about every meal you have eaten this week. Almost all of it was cooked. The cultures that eat the most raw food on Earth still cook the majority of what they consume. And every single human civilization in recorded history, without exception, has cooked. Not as a luxury, not as a preference, as a defining non-negotiable feature of what it means to live as a human being. But here's what makes that remarkable. For the overwhelming majority of the time that life has existed on this planet, nothing was cooked. Every animal that has ever lived, every predator, every primate, every creature that has walked, swum, or crawled across this earth ate its food exactly as it found it. Raw, cold, unprocessed, straight from the source. And then, at some point in the deep human past, one of our ancestors did something that no creature in the history of life on Earth had ever done intentionally before. They held food over a flame and waited. That single moment, almost certainly an accident the first time, almost certainly terrifying, did not just change what humans ate. It rewired human biology from the inside out, restructured human society, and set in motion a chain of consequences so profound that without it, the brain reading these words right now would not exist. Cooking did not make us human. Cooking is the reason we are. The first encounter between humans and cooked food was not a discovery. It was a collision, a wildfire sweeping across dry grassland, a lightning strike, an animal caught in the flames, its carcass left behind in the smoldering aftermath. Some early human, hungry enough and curious enough to investigate, reached into the wreckage and tasted something that no food in their entire experience had ever delivered. Not just in flavor, though the flavor was dramatically different, but in what it did inside the body, because cooked food is not just different from raw food in taste, it is fundamentally biologically different in what it delivers. Cooking breaks down the cellular structure of food before it enters the digestive system. It denatures proteins, ruptures cell walls, and gelatinizes starches in ways that make nutrients vastly more accessible to the body. A human eating raw meat extracts a fraction of the calories that the same piece of cooked meat delivers. The same is true of vegetables, of grains, of almost every food source available to early humans. That first accidental taste of cooked meat was not just a better meal, it was an encounter with a source of energy so dramatically superior to anything our ancestors had ever consumed, and over generations, the species would never be the same again. Here is the problem that cooking solved, one that had been limiting human evolution for millions of years before anyone knew it existed. The human brain is extraordinarily expensive to run. It accounts for roughly 2% of body weight, but consumes 20% of the body's total energy. For an early hominid surviving on raw food, feeding a brain of modern human size was biologically impossible. Chimpanzees, whose diet is almost entirely raw, spend approximately 6 hours a day chewing, just chewing. Their digestive systems are massive relative to their body size, long energy hungry, designed to extract nutrition slowly from food that has not been pre-processed by heat. Early hominids faced the same constraint. A larger brain required more calories required more eating. More eating required more gut consumed the energy the brain needed. It was a biological ceiling that raw food could not break. Cooking shattered it completely. By pre-digesting food with heat before it entered the body, cooking dramatically increased the caloric yield of every meal, while simultaneously reducing the digestive workload. The gut could shrink. The hours spent chewing collapsed from 6 to 1, and the energy locked into maintaining a massive digestive system was freed, redirected over thousands of generations into expanding the most metabolically expensive organ evolution had ever produced. Harvard primatologist Richard Wrangham spent decades building the case for this argument, and his conclusion is as simple as it is staggering. We did not cook because we were smart. We became smart because we cooked. The question of when humans first began cooking deliberately, not stumbling across wildfires but intentionally controlling flame, is one of the most fiercely contested in all of paleoanthropology. The oldest compelling evidence of controlled fire use comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, where researchers found burnt bone and plant ash dating to approximately 1 million years ago. But the anatomical changes associated with cooking, the reduction of the gut, the shrinking of the teeth, the expansion of the brain case, appear in the fossil record of Homo erectus somewhere between 1.8 and 1.5 million years ago. Which means either cooking began far earlier than the current archaeological evidence shows, or the anatomical changes preceded deliberate fire control and were triggered by opportunistic cooking from natural fires. What is not contested is this. By the time modern Homo sapiens appeared 200,000 years ago, cooking was not a new invention. It was an ancient one. So ancient and so embedded in human biology that we are the only species on Earth that is genuinely worse off eating raw food. Raw food diets in modern humans consistently produce weight loss, nutritional deficiency, and in women, disruption of reproductive cycles significant enough to cause infertility. We did not adapt to cooking. We adapted for it. The human body as it currently exists is built on the assumption that food will arrive already touched by fire. But the consequences of cooking extended far beyond biology. Fire and the hearth did something to human social life that no other development in our evolutionary history had managed before it. It created a center, a fixed point around which a group gathered every evening predictably together. Before the hearth, early hominids almost certainly scattered across the terrain at night for safety, coming together loosely during daylight and dispersing at dark. The fire ended that. It provided warmth, protection from predators, and light that stretched the usable hours of the day well beyond sunset, and it gathered the group around a shared resource that required tending, cooperation, and trust to maintain. The person who controlled the fire had power. The person who shared food from it built alliance. The evening meal around the flame was not just nutrition, it was negotiation, it was storytelling. It was the first version of every social institution humans would later build. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham argues that the campfire was the first human institution, the origin not just of cooking but of the pair bond, the family unit, and the cooperative social structures that every subsequent civilization was constructed on top of. We did not build society and then gather around a fire. The fire built society, and we have been gathering around it in one form or another ever since. Here is what is extraordinary about all of this when you see it as a single unbroken line. One accidental encounter between a curious, hungry primate and food that had been touched by fire set in motion a chain of biological and social consequences so profound that it produced, across nearly 2 million years, everything that humans have ever built, thought, felt, or become. The gut shrank, the brain expanded. The group stabilized around the hearth. Language emerged in the firelight. Stories were told, knowledge accumulated, and was passed forward. Art, mathematics, philosophy, civilization, every cognitive leap that separates modern humans from every other species on Earth traces back, in one way or another, to that first cooked meal. And we have never stopped. Every culture in human history has cooked its food. Not most of them. Every single one. Cooking is the one behavior, alongside language, that has never been absent from any human society ever documented anywhere on Earth. It is not something humans do, it is something humans are. And the next time you sit down to a meal, anywhere, however ordinary it seems, you are participating in the oldest and most consequential ritual our species has ever performed. The one that, more than any other single moment in the long story of human evolution, made you possible.